What's up everyone, we're going to be going through the best NBA player props on Prizepicks today. Now I did want to show you the results from yesterday's picks from my exclusive Discord group, and as you guys see, we actually got 22 picks correct, which was absolutely insane. Now a lot of you comment wanting to see how many I got wrong, and I thought I'd show you in today's video. We only got 2 picks wrong and got 22 right, which is a 95% win rate. Yes guys, you heard that right. 95% win rate. So we're on a huge hot streak, but if you want to get a 95% win rate and get 22 picks right like me, win more bets or receive the best picks from some of the best bettors in the world for less than a cup of coffee, you can access the exclusive Discord and meet some of the best sport bettors in the game by joining my Patreon, which will be linked down below in the description. Once you join, you'll have complete access to the Discord and can start winning more bets today. So make sure to join my Patreon using the link in the description. And here's one of our members who just signed up and won himself $118 just yesterday. And another member who won $76 for the 7th day in a row since joining my Discord. So guys, if you want to win big money like our members, the link will be in the description, so go join the Patreon to have access to the Discord group, and I will be continuing to upload every single day on this channel the best bets and props, so make sure to subscribe so you don't miss my daily upload. So I want to give a quick shout out to the shout outs of the day. So shout out to Was Danny Here 305 who commented, "I'm new to this, let's get it." Shout out to Paul Wall 6975 who said, "Get this money," with the money bag emoji. So shouts out to him. Shout out to also Tim Smith who said winning time. So shouts out to them. And if you do want to get a shout out in the next video, all you have to do is comment down below on this one and like this video, and you can be in the running to win a shout out in the next one. All right, so let's get straight into the first pick. And when it comes to these picks, I'm not saying to chuck all of them into a parlay and hope for the best. Pick and choose the ones that you like and the ones that work best for you. So the first pick we're going to talk about is none other than Josh Hart, and this one is for 9.5 rebounds, and this one is for less. Now, when we look at Josh Hart, we've actually seen him go on the under in 3 out of the last 5 games. Now, during those games, we see that on March 11, they faced off against Sacramento Kings, where he only had 6 rebounds. Then faced off against Portland Trailblazers, where he had 11 rebounds. After that, March 16th, Golden State Warriors only had 7 rebounds. Then moving on from that, Miami Heat had 13, and then San Antonio Spurs to wrap it all up with 7 rebounds. And now they do face off against the Charlotte Hornets. Now, when we look at the Charlotte Hornets, we do actually see that the Charlotte Hornets do rank when it actually comes to rebounds allowed. We do see that they rank 21st. Now, there is 2 reasons why we do like the under for this situation here. Now, first being is that when it comes to Charlotte, they do a fantastic job at actually restricting rebounds to the guard position. Josh Hart, although he does have a high usage rate in the rebounding position, he's definitely, still running that guard position, and Charlotte just do a fantastic job at restricting that. On top of that, when you look at Charlotte Hornets, they are looking to tank, and if they are looking to tank, we could see a blowout situation. It is expected that this game is going to be a blowout situation, and if that is the case, we could see Josh Hart get taken off early and may not get the same usage rate that we usually see from him. Now, his average over the last 5 is 8.8, so slightly below this line as well, and the fact that he has had, more games on the under than the over the last 5, it definitely does show that New York Knicks are continuing to restrict Josh Hart's usage rate as much as possible, especially coming into the playoff contention. Now, Eastern Conference, you look at the Knicks, they currently have a record of 43-25. They currently rank 3rd. Now, they haven't clinched a playoff spot just yet, but they are very close. So, we are expecting this New York Knicks team to play Josh Hart, but if it does look like, the game is a blowout situation, we definitely could see him get taken out very early. So, for that reason, we do very much like the under for this one. When you also look at Charlotte Hornets on the other side, they do rank 14th when it comes to the Eastern Conference with a record of 17-51. So that's another telltale sign why we do like the under for this situation here. So we definitely see someone like Josh Hart going on the under due to those reasons. And we definitely do like the under due to the fact that when we look at what the bookies are saying, the bookies also have him favored for the under as well. Now, when we look at Josh Hart over the last couple of games, especially against Charlotte, we do see a little bit of a different picture. Now, on the 29th of November, he did have 12 rebounds, so he was above on that line. Josh Hart on the 5th of December had 10 rebounds. So he did go over on both of those games. However, we're going to go a little bit against the grain here due to the new factors that are taken into consideration, which is that, when it comes to, the team that they face off against, which is Charlotte, we definitely are expecting the under due to the fact that there is a blowout situation, and usually Charlotte do rank well when it comes to restricting rebounds from guards. So I think when we look at these two games, there could have been certain times where there are just some games where Josh Hart does beat the math, but we think in this next one we should see a very, very different story. So for that reason, we do like the under for this one. So Josh Hart, 9.5 rebounds for less, I think is a fantastic pick. Now, getting into the next one, we're going to be talking about none other than Jimmy Butler. So Jimmy Butler, great player for his new team, the Golden State Warriors. And this one is a fantastic one for actually points for 18.5. And this one actually is for less. Now, when we look at Jimmy Butler, we've actually seen him go on the under in 3 out of the last 5 games. Now, looking at those last 5 games, we see that they faced off against Portland Trailblazers on March 11, where he actually had 15 points. Then moving on to Sacramento, we see that Sacramento, he did struggle, only having 6 points. Moving on from that, facing off against New York Knicks, he only had 11 points. Then Denver Nuggets, 23 points. And then wrapping it all up against Milwaukee, he did or was able to get 24 points. So he did a decent job on the last 2 games, but has still gone on the under more than he's gone on the over. So that's definitely a sign for us there. Now, when we look at his average over the last 5, we see that his average over the last 5 is 15.8. So, below his line significantly, and that's definitely a telltale sign against this one. Now, they do face off against the Toronto Raptors in this matchup, and when we actually look at the Toronto Raptors, we see a very interesting story due to the fact that the Toronto Raptors do rank when it comes to points allowed. They rank 21st. So, they rank 21st when it comes to points allowed. However, the reason why we do like the under for this situation here is that Toronto Raptors actually do a fantastic job at restricting points to the forward position. Now, looking at both of these teams, we see that when we look at first Toronto Raptors, we see that they rank 11th in the Eastern Conference with a record of 24-45. Now, they are 5 games behind, the 10th spot, so they could potentially make the play-in. Now, we are still, however, expecting them to actually push for more of a tanking sort of situation, especially with Toronto 5 games behind. We don't really see that happening coming into this, but things can definitely change. However, when you look at also the Golden State Warriors, you see Golden State Warriors are 6 currently in the Western Conference with a record of 40-29. So very different records there. But when we look at this matchup, we think that, like we mentioned, it's based on a per position basis. The fact that Toronto do a fantastic job at restricting, points to the forward position, we definitely see that having a huge effect there. Now, when we actually look at Jimmy Butler against the Raptors so far this season, it is a little bit different since he is playing for a different team during these games. This was against or with the Miami Heat. So obviously you can't take it all into consideration. You have to take it with a little bit more of a grain of salt. But he had 26 points in the game that they faced off against, which was on the 29th. On top of that, when you also move on, you also see on the 1st of December, they faced off and he only had 17 points in that matchup. So he would have been under his line there. And then faced again off against the 12th of December, and he only had 11 points in that matchup. So for that reason, we do very much like the under because as we see, 2 out of the 3 games, he actually did go on the under. And we definitely see that or having a similar situation coming into this next one. Now, when we look at Jimmy Butler as well, what we are also expecting is that when we look at both of these teams, Toronto Raptors, Golden State Warriors, Golden State Warriors and Toronto are pretty fast-paced teams, but not the fastest. So we are expecting, just a decent amount of pace from this game, nothing really too major. So we think the pace is going to be a little bit, not really what we are expecting when it comes to Jimmy Butler coming into this matchup. Toronto are a little bit slower, and we are expecting Toronto to actually slow down Golden State Warriors. May not be by a lot, but it's definitely enough to still take an effect, and which is a big reason why we do like the under for this one. So Jimmy Butler, 18.5 points for less, I think is a fantastic pick. Now getting to the next one, we're going to be talking about none other than actually Josh Hart's teammate, and that is Karl-Anthony Towns. Okay, so Karl-Anthony Towns, great player. This is also a rebounds one for 11.5, and this one is for less. Now we look at Karl-Anthony Towns. We've actually seen him go on the under in 4 out of the last 5 games. So very interesting here. When you see Karl-Anthony Towns over the last 5 games, on March 11, they faced off against Sacramento, where he only had 9 rebounds there. Then moving on from that, March 13, faced off against the Portland Trailblazers, and he only actually had 7 rebounds in that one. Then moving on from that, Golden State Warriors, 12 rebounds. March 18th, faced off against Miami Heat, had 7 rebounds, and San Antonio Spurs, he only had 9 rebounds. So consistently, we've actually seen Karl-Anthony Towns go on the under a majority of times, and that's a big reason why we do very much like the under for, this situation here, because they face off against Charlotte. Now, like we mentioned before, when you look at Charlotte Hornets, ranked 21st when it comes to rebounds allowed. Now, Charlotte do a pretty decent job at restricting rebounds to the big man position, whether that's power forward or center, which is what Karl-Anthony Towns plays. But another big reason is that we definitely just have seen Karl-Anthony Towns' usage rate fall quite a bit as of recent, and we think that is going to be taken into consideration coming into this game. Similar reasons to the one with the Josh Hart pick as well. Charlotte are looking to tank, and if they are looking to tank, we could see a blowout situation very quickly, and if that is the case, Karl-Anthony Towns can get taken off the game very early. On top of that, the way New York Knicks have been playing Karl-Anthony Towns, he hasn't been getting the same amount of boards that he usually does see, and that's why his average over the last 5 is only 8.8. So that's definitely a big sign for us there. On top of that, when you also look at what the bookies are saying, bookies also have him favored for the under as well. Now, looking at Karl-Anthony Towns, we do see that when it actually comes to this matchup, they face off against the Hornets. Now, in the first matchup that he did face off against on the 29th, he actually had 12 rebounds in that game. And next, on the 5th of December, they faced off again, and he had 16 rebounds. So, yes, he did pretty decently. He did go over on his line. However, we think with the different circumstances, similar to Josh Hart, we should see a different outcome coming into this game with, the tanking of Charlotte Hornets and also with the dip of Karl-Anthony Towns' usage rate as of lately. And it does seem that New York Knicks have been playing him a little bit differently. Probably, to get him ready for the playoffs, and we definitely see that being a big thing there. So for that reason, Karl-Anthony Towns, 11.5 rebounds for less, I think is a fantastic pick. All right, so as you all know, I do want to get these picks out to you as soon as possible, but Prizepicks is delayed with some of their lines. So here are a couple of players you should definitely watch out for when their lines drop. So the first player we're going to be talking about is none other than Seth Curry. So as you all know, Seth Curry, fantastic player for the Charlotte Hornets. And when it comes to the Charlotte Hornets, they have been doing pretty poorly so far this season, as they do actually rank 14th in the actual Eastern Conference with a record of 17-51. Now, when we look at Seth Curry over, this season, he has been averaging 6.1 points, 1.6 rebounds, 0.7 assists, while also shooting 46.3% from the field. So he has a little bit of a low stats, but there is a method to the madness on why we do think, Seth Curry is going to have a very, good usage rate in this next game. But when we look at their matchup, they do face off against none other than the New York Knicks. Now, it is going to be an exciting game. New York Knicks do rank 3rd when it comes to the Eastern Conference with a record of 43-25. Now, they haven't secured yet just a playoff spot. They haven't clinched one, but they are very close, so they are going to continue to try to push to get this win. Now, when we look at the matchup, we do see that when it comes to New York Knicks, we see that when it comes to points allowed, we see the Knicks do rank pretty decently as a rank 13th. Moving on into assists allowed, we also do see that the Knicks rank 9th, and then rebounds allowed, they also rank or tied for 1st. So, but when it comes to Seth Curry, even though he does have very small and low averages, we do very much like the over for this situation here. Now, a big reason being is that when it comes to the Charlotte Hornets and you actually look Charlotte Hornets do rank 14th in the Eastern Conference, like we mentioned. They have a record of 17-51, which puts them second last in the Eastern Conference. And the reason why we do like the over is that we are expecting Seth Curry to have a lot more usage rate and a lot more minutes coming into this next matchup. The reason being is that there are a lot of Hornets stars that are starting to rest. So what's happening is Charlotte are looking to tank. They actually tend to play a lot more of their bench players. So players like Seth Curry, other players like Malachi Flynn, list really does go on, and we are starting to slowly see them get a little bit more minutes. When you look at the most recent game against Atlanta, you actually saw Seth Curry get 25 minutes, which is a lot more than he usually is used to, and he had 19 points in that matchup. So we are expecting a similar situation like that coming into this next game due to that reason, and because Hornets are continuing to tank. Right now, it is expected LaMelo is not going to play. Bridges is not going to play. So there are a lot of players that are expected to be sitting out. It may change, but if it doesn't change, I definitely see a lot more value for someone like Seth Curry to go on the over. Now, when it comes to Seth, however, when it comes to his actual lines, if it does come out, I would focus just a little bit more on points than anything else. He doesn't have the highest assist rate. He doesn't have the highest rebound rate. And I think points is definitely where you're probably going to see a line come out for Seth Curry. So I definitely would keep an eye out for that. When you also look at the matchup between Knicks and Hornets, Knicks are a little bit of a slow-paced team, but what we have noticed time and time again is that Hornets do a fantastic job at speeding up slower-paced teams. So we should see that happen in this case. We should see Seth Curry be able to get the same amount of volume, same amount of usage rate that he usually has seen in that last game against Atlanta, and we should see a similar story there. So definitely keep an eye out for the over for Seth Curry. Like I mentioned, definitely focus a lot more on points, as that is most likely going to be where a line's going to come out for Seth. So we should see him go over pretty easily in that category. So when it comes to that, keep an eye out for the line. If it is under his averages, then definitely look to go on the over. Now, getting into the next player, we're going to be talking about none other than Pascal Siakam. So, Pascal Siakam, great player, as we all know, for his team, the Indiana Pacers. And he's done a fantastic job so far this season, averaging 20.9 points, ranking him actually 33rd, 7.2 rebounds, which ranks him 30th, 3.3 assists, which ranks him 79th, and then a 52.6% field goal percentage that ranks him 26th. So he's very good when it comes to all three categories. He's had a very good usage rate for this Indiana Pacers team, and the Indiana Pacers do actually have themselves a very good matchup because they face off against none other than the Brooklyn Nets. Now, when we look at the Brooklyn Nets, we see actually a very, interesting story between these two teams. When you look at Pacers, or Indiana Pacers that is, we see that Indiana do rank 4th in the Eastern Conference with a record of 39-29. So they do have a really good record, but Pacers haven't clinched a playoff spot just yet. So we are expecting Pacers to come out in this next game and to really give it their all in order to really secure a spot and especially secure a high spot in the playoffs. So they are going to continue to push there. When we look at Brooklyn Nets, on the other hand, you definitely see a different story. Brooklyn Nets currently ranked 12th in the Eastern Conference, and we are expecting them to continue to play where they are probably looking to tank coming into this next matchup. So, Brooklyn, they are going to try to lose pretty much or tank due to the fact that they are trying to get a higher draft pick. We don't really see them going for a playoff spot, as it does look like they are a little bit too far away to really make any major moves in order to get closer. But when we look at Brooklyn Nets, however, we do see that they rank 9th in points allowed. Moving on into assists allowed, we see that they rank 17th. And then rebounds allowed, they do actually rank 9th. So Brooklyn Nets do surprisingly rank pretty decent in all three categories, mid to high tier. However, we do like the over for this situation for someone like Pascal Siakam. A big reason being is that when we look at, like I mentioned, the tanking situation here, we are expecting Brooklyn Nets to actually come out and play very sort of, slow type play basketball, in a sense that they aren't probably going to put their stars on or anything like that. They are probably going to try to, tank, so they probably get their bench on as soon as possible. So we could definitely see a situation like that. When you also look at Siakam as well, he is a power forward, and Brooklyn Nets actually struggle and do a poor job at defending the power forward position from points, rebounds, and assists. So for that reason, we do very much like, the over for someone like Pascal. We definitely see him being able to take advantage of that. When you look at some of his recent games, he's definitely had a very, very good usage rate. A reason being is that they have incurred some injuries here and there, in a sense that some players are probable for playing in this next game as well. Tyrese Halliburton is expected not to play in this game, but, even if he does play, we still see someone like Pascal going on the over. But when they don't play, Pascal has been able to really take advantage of that and put on a great show, stats wise, and also usage rate rise as well. But when you look at his recent games, he's coming off a game where he had 29 points, 5 assists, and actually 1 rebound, which was interesting there. Another game where he had 26 points, 7 rebounds, 2 assists. Another matchup where against Philly, we had 27 points, 4 assists, and also 7 rebounds. So he is coming off some pretty big games, and we definitely see that continuing on. He's had a little bit of a hot streak as of lately, in a sense that his usage rate has remained high and consistent, and we should see that coming into this next game, no doubt about it. So for that reason, we do very much like, the over for this situation here. And when it comes to someone like Pascal, we should see him be able to put on quite a show due to the fact that he is one of the main players for this Pacers team, and with some injuries that Indiana are currently facing, we should see Pascal even get a little bit more of a boost in his usage rate department. So for that reason, I would keep an eye out for the over. There really isn't one you need to focus on. I think points, rebounds, and assists, either one, there's a lot of value there for someone like Pascal to be able to take advantage and go on the over in that situation. So definitely keep an eye out for him there. Now getting into the next player, we're going to be talking about DeMar DeRozan. So DeMar DeRozan, as we all know, great player for the Sacramento Kings. And when you also look at the Sacramento Kings, we do see that when it actually comes to their ranking, they currently rank 9th in the Western Conference with a record of 35-33. So they currently are in play-in position right now. They are looking to get into the play-ins and make the playoffs, so they are going to continue to push and play very, very hard. Now, DeMar DeRozan himself has been averaging 22.2 points, which actually ranks him 25th. 4 rebounds, tying him at 117th, 4.1 assists, which ties him at 59th, and then 48.6% from the field, which ranks him at 47th. So when we look at someone like Sacramento Kings, the Sacramento Kings have, done a decent job trying to get into the play-ins, and now they do have themselves a very interesting matchup against the Chicago Bulls. Now, when we look at the Chicago Bulls, we see a very, very similar story. Chicago Bulls are from the Eastern Conference, and Chicago do rank 9th in the Eastern Conference, so they are currently in a play-in position as well. They have a bit of a worse record, as they have a record of 29-40, so a little bit worse in that category. However, when we actually look at the Chicago Bulls as well, when it comes to points, rebounds, and assists allowed, we do see that Chicago rank 29th when it comes to points allowed, 29th when it comes to assists allowed, and 29th when it comes to rebounds allowed. So very simple there. They rank 29 in all 3 categories, and for that reason, we definitely see someone like DeMar DeRozan being able to take advantage of this. DeMar has a very high usage rate in all 3 departments, rebounds and assists a little bit less, but still a very good amount. And when we look at Sacramento, they are facing a little bit of a couple of injuries that we may also see DeMar DeRozan be able to take advantage of that and get a little bit more boost in his usage rate there. A key player being Zach LaVine. Now, Zach LaVine is unexpected right now, but he is actually more expected not to play in this game. So it is a game time decision, but as of right now, it is expected that he won't play. And if he doesn't, we definitely see that benefiting DeMar DeRozan greatly. Now, even if he does end up playing, we definitely see someone like DeMar going on the over, as the Chicago Bulls do a very poor job at restricting points, rebounds, and assists to the small forward position. So we definitely see someone like DeMar DeRozan being able to take advantage of this, going on the over, especially against the Chicago Bulls team. Now, both teams are also pretty fast-paced. Chicago are a fast-paced team, so are actually, Sacramento Kings. So we are expecting a good amount of pace from both of these teams, good amount of volume, which definitely should lead for DeMar to be able to go on the over pretty easily here. So all signs point towards the over, but when you also look at his last 5 games, we see some really good stats there. He's had 27 points, 4 assists, 1 rebound in the most recent matchup. Another game where he had 23 points, 1 assist, just 0 rebounds, and another one where he had 22 points, 8 assists, and 6 rebounds. Now, I wouldn't definitely focus on any particular, but you definitely do see that DeMar is or have one of the highest usage rate in this Kings team in the points department. So I definitely would just keep an eye out for that. But I think rebounds and assists, if the line is low enough, there definitely could be some value there. So keep an eye out for that for DeMar DeRozan, and keep an eye out whether it's points, rebounds, and assists. If the line is low enough compared to the averages, then definitely look to go on the over. Now, getting into the next player, we're going to be talking about Austin Reaves. Now, Austin Reaves, great player, as we all know, from the Los Angeles Lakers, and he has been playing great, averaging 19.6 points, which ranks him 36, 4.5 rebounds, which ranks him 98th, 6 assists, which ranks him 22nd, and has 44.6% field goal percentage, which ranks him 89th. So he's done a fantastic job for the Los Angeles Lakers, and the Los Angeles Lakers do have themselves a very, very interesting matchup against the Milwaukee Bucks. So it is going to be a very exciting game due to the fact that Milwaukee Bucks do rank 5th in the Eastern Conference with a record of 38-30. So they have a very, very good record there, and the Bucks are continuing to push for a playoff spot. Right now, they haven't clinched a playoff spot just yet, so we are expecting them to come out firing in this next game. Lakers, on the other hand, in a similar situation. The Lakers do have a record of 43-25, and they currently rank 3rd in the Western Conference. Now, they haven't actually clinched a playoff spot as well, so when it comes to that, we definitely see someone or a team like Lakers and also Bucks do a very, very intense job in the sense of they are both trying to get that win. We aren't expecting any tanking from both of these teams. But when we look at the Milwaukee Bucks, we do see that when it comes to points allowed, we do see that the Bucks do actually rank 12th when it comes to points allowed. Moving on into assists allowed, you also do see that the Bucks rank, pretty decently, not the best as always, but they still do rank 11th. And then rebounds allowed, we do see that the Bucks rank, a little bit worse in that category as they rank 24th. So when it actually comes to someone, like Austin Reaves, we do like the under for this situation, but I would definitely focus on points and assists there. A big reason being is that when it comes to actually Austin Reaves, he is a shooting guard, and we have, noticed that Milwaukee Bucks do a fantastic job at restricting points and assists to the shooting guard position. So we definitely see someone like Austin Reaves struggling in this matchup. We should see him go on the under due to these reasons. And on top of that, Austin Reaves, has been playing decently. Yes, that is true. But we think with Milwaukee Bucks and the defensive strategies that they do like to play with, we could actually see Austin go on the under here. Now, both these teams, Bucks are a little bit faster paced than Lakers, but we are expecting from this matchup is that Lakers actually slow down the Bucks and bring them down to their pace. So we aren't expecting any extra pace from this game. Now, I would definitely focus a lot more on points and assists, not just due to the fact that Bucks rank higher, but also Austin Reaves has a higher usage rate in both of those departments. So we are expecting, this Milwaukee Bucks team to send a lot of their defensive strategies towards someone like Reaves and to restrict him as much as possible, especially in the points department and also the assist department as well.